Hey, it's Mike here, and today I have COVID. Lindy also has COVID. We might as well just go ahead and call it Mexicovid because we just got it from being at a wedding down in Mexico. We're not sure if we got it at the wedding or later sightseeing and stuff. I can talk more about where we think we got it, how we think we got it, what precautions we were taking, and so forth. But we think it might be the first time, but we think it might also be the second time because in the very beginning, before we knew anything about this, people were starting to get COVID in Iowa where we live, and we could not get a test at all. And Lindy especially had like loss of taste and smell, dry cough, etc. But as you can tell already, I am doing pretty well. We think it's already been 4 days or so, but we don't actually know. As I will get into, the whole Montezuma's revenge thing sort of makes it confusing. We don't really know if we had that or not. But basically, I have, a cough. I'll cough like once every hour. I've got a little bit of nasal congestion, but for me, it's been morning lower intestinal issues every morning that I've woken up for the last 4 days. That happens. My stomach feels kind of in knots, and then digestively, I'm more or less fine for the rest of the day, which is also really annoying because it kind of has the same stomach feeling as anxiety, and so it like sort of overlaps with that, which is really frustrating. So this has been a lesson to me more than anything else that people with anxiety, my hat's off to you for dealing with it seriously, because it makes you not want to do anything, and the littlest thing can freak you out. But thankfully over the day I kind of just rest up and meditate, and 3 or 4 hours after being awake I'm like totally fine. Anyway, back to Mexico. Like I told you, a few days back, a week ago-ish, almost now, we went down to Mexico for a wedding of a good friend, and we were in Merida, so we were on the Yucatan, which is like the little thumb of Mexico, and it was cool going there. I rented a little stick shift car and all that stuff, and we just have been very careful throughout the whole pandemic. We had our KN95 masks on the plane. This is what we realized, is that this was the chart of Mexico. Thankfully in the US we're not this high, but we were hitting the parabolic peak there, so it's not a surprise that we got it. And normally, we've been very careful about watching the charts, but this was like a scheduled thing out. We had everything worked out, and we figured we'll just try and be extra safe. And the wedding, generally, they did a good job of keeping things outside and so forth. So we don't actually know if we got it at the wedding. If it was at the wedding, it would have been like the dinner party, even though it was an open air place. That brings me to how we probably have BA.5, the new variant, statistically we might, and that appears to be a bit more contagious outside, but I don't want to make any major claims there until we really have solid science. But that means that a bunch of people sitting outside are dancing on like an atrium situation that's sort of outside, and even though there's wind, we could have still gotten it there. But it's also possible that we got it at Chichen Itza, which is one of the wonders of the world. It was really cool. We drove there and saw the big pyramid and walked around. But even though we wore our masks inside the center and stuff, we went outside, and there's just so many people walking there without masks, and we were like, oh, we're outside, we're still in the outside is okay mentality, because in the past they've had just massive gatherings, and if people are outside, it's been okay more than we originally thought it might be. So we were like, outside is okay. But it's possible that just from walking behind enough people, next to enough people at Chichen Itza, because we're just talking lines of tourists, we could have gotten it there. And that matches up the most with our timeline, actually, of symptoms about 24 hours later, which was us going to a place to eat in Tulum. So we drove to Tulum. So we're talking west of the Yucatan, northwest is Merida, and then we drove about 3 hours to Tulum, which I originally was going to do a whole video of like finding the Tuluminati as a joke, because there's a million influencers there. It's almost like a conspiracy of influencers, and I was going to make a bunch of jokes and do a vlog about that, and I can just show you guys some of the food that we ate in this video, but I don't want to do a vlog about it. It was just not enough good stuff, especially because we started feeling sick. And so what happened is we got into Tulum, and we went to a restaurant, and it feels like 98, we realized later, but even though the temperature was like mid 80s. And so we went to sit down on this patio with all these fans. We thought we're fine, and then we just started going like, oh, we don't feel so good. Lindy felt like she was gonna throw up and pass out, and so we went right back to the hotel and just rested, and we thought that we had heat stroke, which is something that I've never gotten before, but we're like, maybe something about being a little worn out and traveling, we maybe got heat stroke. And then we were like, maybe this is some sort of version of Montezuma's Revenge. We're eating mostly cooked vegan food and also some smoothie type things though, which is a little bit sketchy in that sense. And we were drinking bottled water, being really careful about that. But it's very possible that we did have Montezuma's Revenge, or it's also possible that we didn't have it. And so we didn't think we had COVID. It was like very digestive related. And so we didn't even bother getting tested because it wasn't the symptoms that we were used to. It was the symptom that everyone says you're gonna get if you go to Mexico. Anyway, a day in the hotel later, we start feeling a little bit better, but we're not feeling great. And then finally we get to drive back to Merida and fly back, also being very careful, wearing masks on the planes. Although, of course, it spreading outside is totally a different scenario. Anyway, so we flew back thinking that we were just recovering from Montezuma's Revenge or heat stroke or whatever. And then we get back and Lindy wakes up the next day and she doesn't have a sense of taste and smell. And then we're like, oh crap. And so she tests and I test and we're both positive on a rapid test. And so that was a couple days ago. And so we've just been trying to do self-care. For me, it's been really about eating enough food. Between everything, I lost like almost 10 pounds. I'm really hoping to not lose more. And just things like I've been making my turmeric latte, which when my mom, when I was younger, my mom used to make me turmeric drinks when I was sick. And so this is my sort of stand-in for that. Not trying to like sell you things when I'm sick, but this is it for people that don't know what I'm talking about. Linked below. Anyway, other than that, I feel relatively good. I'm so grateful that we are younger and we are vaccinated and have a booster. I don't even want to get into that conversation if people want to argue about it right now. Not in the mood, but I'm just knocking on wood, hoping that we're just at the end of it now, but we don't really know when we actually, if we were positive those 2 days earlier in Mexico or not. And thankfully my last rapid test looks like this. I don't even know if you can see the line, but there's definitely a line. Even if you have a faint line, that means you are positive. But if you're unsure, you can always get more tests, get a PCR test and all that stuff. And here's an example of Lindy's last test, which was just a solid second line. So that's like the most obviously positive one possible. Anyway, obviously I'm super grateful to not have a serious level of this. I've mentioned before that people even on a loosely plant-based diet have 73% lower risk of having moderate to severe cases of COVID. And so I'm really grateful that it's still remaining very mild. And so hopefully we can just get out of it. And this is where we get to the next thing is some of you are wondering probably like, are you even gonna make it to the UK vegan campout? And we're just gonna be very careful and make sure that we are very much negative when we fly out there. We might have to cancel our original flight, which is gonna be really annoying, and we won't have time to get sort of settled in after jet lag and all that. But we're definitely going to be trying to make it, unless we end up with a very long case. We really absolutely should be there based off the time frame. And I'm also gonna be hosting Vegan Jeopardy there, which I'm super excited about. I'm gonna print out little golden medals. And for those of you that don't know, I basically take a custom Jeopardy maker online and I've totally veganized it and it's really fun. It's like, where do you get your protein for 400? I'm sure some of you remember that. I haven't whipped it out for a while, but it just seemed like it would be cool to do with a bigger crowd, which is gonna be, and I also know that I posted the other day on the community tab that this is gonna be the first video that I've missed posting, like the full week break that I've had pretty much ever since I started my channel. And then here I am filming myself like this, but I figured I might as well update you guys. It's interesting stuff. I would like to know about it. If somebody that I was watching had COVID and how they got it and the variant that they probably have. And I am hoping that this just stays so chill and that the BA.5 doesn't do much. I mean, the US cases are still pretty flat. UK cases are still looking pretty good. Barcelona, where I'll be going afterwards, is looking pretty good, but Mexico is just hitting that spike right then and right there after we spent years trying to dodge being anywhere near that. Oh, what can you do? But going forward, I'm definitely gonna have a lot more empathy for people that deal with anxiety, because you can kind of get sort of ramped up here and there as somebody who doesn't have it and think you understand what it's like for people that have it. But then from what I've experienced in these mornings, I'm like, crap, I feel so bad for these people. And I really hope that when COVID's gone, it's just gone. Either way though, I'm gonna work through it, do whatever I can to make sure I don't have it through like meditation, yoga, exercise, ashwagandha, I don't know, anything. And I forgot to mention Lindy's symptoms. Probably the most intense thing is she did have a fever between 101 and 102, but it went away pretty quickly. She just had it for like one evening. She thankfully never threw up. She says she's just kind of starting to feel some digestive stuff now. She's had a cough, but it's not too bad. Would you say your nose is stuffed? Her sinuses are also a little stuffed, even though she doesn't have a runny nose, and the plane was actually kind of hard for her. And her heart rate was one thing, and her friend also had this too, where when she first got it, her heart rate was just like even laying down in the 100 range, which was something that's also really not nice. So like, screw you, COVID, how about you just stop? How about you just stop right now? I'm glad I was able to fill you guys in, and it just feels good to even make a video during all this because it's easy to get in your head about everything, and I'm so excited for the camp out. I hope that works. Iceland will absolutely still work because that is so far out, and I'm so excited for that. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop rambling and say thank you for watching. Let's keep it chill and safe. And of course, feel free to like and subscribe. It just sounds funny to say in a video like this. Anyway, see you next time.
Here I am at Chichen Itza, and as you can see, we have some kind of alien penis structure. It could not have been made by man.